You're now tuned into the Hustle Vortex Locking and Rise podcast, hosted by Alvin E. Ward. Lock in your focus, rise with your grind. Let's get it. What's going on, family? Welcome back to Hustle Vortex Locking and Rise. I'm your host, Alvin E. Ward. If you're listening right now, this episode is about awareness, about maturity, about knowing who deserves access to your life. Let's lock in. One of the few types of people you really got to watch out for are hotheads. I'm talking about people who explode over the smallest things. The people can't pause, can't reflect, can't regulate their emotions. Everything is a reaction. Everything is intense. Everything turns into a problem. And at first, it might not seem like a big deal. You might tell yourself, that's just how they are. But over time, you start to realize something important. Their lack of control starts affecting your life. Because when someone can't control their temper, they don't just hurt themselves. They create instability for everyone around them. You never know what version of them you're going to get. Calm one moment, explosive the next. And that unpredictably keeps you on edge. You start watching what you say, how you say it, when you say it. You start shrinking yourself just to keep the peace. And that's when you need to stop and ask yourself, why am I adjusting my energy to accommodate someone else's anger? That's not peace. That's survival mode. Hotheads don't need a real reason to blow up. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding, sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's ego. And suddenly, you're standing in emotional debris you didn't create. Let me say this clearly. If someone can control their temper, they don't deserve a spot anywhere near you. That doesn't make you heartless. That makes you self-aware, because peace isn't free, it's earned. And once you build it, you don't let just anyone walk in and disrupt it. A lot of people confuse anger with strength. They think being loud means being powerful. They think losing control means being real. But real strength is restraint. Real power is being able to pause when everything inside of you wants to react. Anyone can snap. Anyone can yell. Anyone can lose control. But discipline, that takes work. And discipline matters if you're trying to build something meaningful. Relationships, businesses, families, legacies. You cannot build solid foundations around unstable emotions. Hotheads create chaos, then act surprised when things fall apart. They say things they don't mean, cross boundaries they can't uncross, burn bridges, then expect apologies to magically fix everything. But here's the truth. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. You can forgive someone and still choose distance. That's growth, that's maturity, that's choosing peace or familiarity. Some people are still learning how to regulate themselves. Some people are still healing. And that's okay. But you're not required to be the training ground for someone else's emotional development. You don't have to stand in the blast radius just to prove you care. You can wish them well from a distance. You can pray for them without sacrificing your peace. That's not cold, that's wise. And here's something else people don't talk about. Emotional chaos spreads. Stay around hotheads long enough and you start absorbing their stress. Their tension becomes your attention, their anger becomes your anxiety. And suddenly you're drained, not because life is hard, because you're surrounded by volatility. That's not the life you're building. You're building focus, you're building discipline, you're building clarity. And that requires calm. When you start setting boundaries, don't be surprised if people push back, especially the ones who benefit from you having none. They'll call you distant. They'll call you different. They say you changed. You did change. You evolved. You learn that access is earned. You learn that peace is expensive. It costs comfort. It costs familiarity. It costs walking away from people you once felt close to. But the cost of not protecting it is burnout, stress, and emotional exhaustion. And you didn't come this far to live in constant tension. So if someone explodes over everything, if they can control their reactions, if their anger constantly spills into your life, that's your sign. Distance is not disrespect, distance is self preservation. So let this sit with you today. You don't need loud energy. You don't need unpredictable people. You don't need chaos disguised as passion. You need peace. You need control. You need alignment. Protect it. This is Hustle Vortex. Lock in and rise. Once you lock in, everything changes. Appreciate you locking in with me on the Hustle Vortex Locking in and Rise podcast. Take what you learned today, let it elevate you, and move with your purpose. I am Alvin E. Stay blessed, stay grinding, stay rising.